Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to be giving you some math tips for the non-calculator portion of the PSAT. Today's questions will be centered around system of equations and how to best conquer them when you encounter them on the PSAT. If you're new to my videos, I'll be putting time codes in the description box below that you can use to fast forward to any part of the video that you deem most important. If you have any questions about what you see today, remember you can put them in the comment box below. If you have any questions about your own homework, remember you can visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. When you find this video helpful, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, without further ado, let's jump right into some PSAT tips. So our first question of the day has us looking at this system that says we have negative 3x minus 4y equals 20 and x minus 10y equals 16. The question is asking us if we have xy as a solution to this system of equations, well, what is the value of x? So the first tip I have for you today is going to help determine the best method to solve this system of equations. Now you might be saying, well, hey, I know we have substitution and I know we have elimination, or some people might call it combination. And I'm partial to one of these. And that's fine. If you're doing on your homework, do whatever you feel most comfortable with. However, when you have a timed test like the PSAT, then there is one that does outshine the other. And that one is going to be the elimination method. Now, if you're like me, substitution is your go-to. But if elimination fills you with some kind of anxiety, I really recommend you take the time to understand how to do elimination and get a lot more comfortable with it before you get to the PSAT. Elimination has a lot of advantages over substitution in that, one, it's normally much faster than substitution. And another benefit is you can isolate the one you want if you're just solving for one variable than having to solve for both of them to get an answer. So if you can, I really recommend doing elimination over substitution because it can save you valuable time that you can then use for the calculator portion of the PSAT. So for this question, we're going to solve it using elimination. So that's our first tip for today. Use elimination method. So when you're looking back at your system, elimination requires us to choose which one we're going to eliminate first. We have two variables here, and we have to choose which one to eliminate first. That is going to be our second tip. Choose wisely. Since you can choose which one you want to eliminate, make sure you choose wisely. Don't choose a variable that's going to give you more work to do. So our second tip, choose variable wisely. Don't just go in guns a-blazing solving this without realizing what the question is asking and how to best save your time. The question is asking what is the value of x. So I would recommend for this question, eliminate y. By eliminating y, you have your value of x without having to then plug back in. If you were to eliminate x, you get this in terms of y, and then you would then need to plug that value in to one of these equations to find your x. So choose your variable wisely. Don't give yourself more work when you don't have to. So our two tips for this question, use elimination method and choose your variable wisely. So let's solve this. We're going to eliminate y, and our method requires us to use the least common multiple to do so. So we have 4 and 10 attached to our y's. What is the least common multiple of 4 and 10? Well, that's going to be 20. So we have to multiply both the top and the bottom by what makes this and this 20. So what do we multiply by the top so that we have a 20 next to our y? Well, that's going to be 5. So we're going to multiply the entire top by 5. So let's rewrite that. And how about the bottom? What do we multiply by to get a 20 next to this y? Well, that's going to be 2. And it's going to be x, and we're going to do the entire thing. Make sure it is imperative I put everything in parentheses because I want you to know that we're multiplying the entire equation by these numbers. Not just the left side, both sides. So one more important tip for using this method is you have to multiply by something that will eliminate when you try to combine them. If I was to just multiply this 5 by this negative 4 here, because you realize there's a negative here, that's going to give us a negative 20, right? Great. If I multiply this 2 by this negative 10, that's going to give us a negative 20. Great. But if I were to combine those, are they going away? No. So we have to multiply one of these by a negative because we need these to combine and eventually go away. So choose one, whatever one you feel is most comfortable. I'm going to put the negative on my 2. So when I multiply all of this out, we get negative 15x minus 20y equals 100. And our bottom is negative 2x plus 20y equals negative 32. So you see, now if we were to combine this, our y's will cancel out, and what do we have left? Well, we have negative 15x minus 2x, so that gives us a negative 17x. And then we have 100 minus 32, which gives us 68. So now we have to isolate our x. By dividing both sides by 17, well, negative 17, make sure you don't forget your negative. By negative 17, we get x is going to be what? Well, how many times is 17 going to 68? Well, that's going to be 4 times. And we have a negative on this side, so it's going to be an x equal negative 4. And looking back at our question, is x equal negative 4 one of our answers? Yes, it's C. So you see, by choosing the elimination method, we don't have to solve for both variables. We can just isolate the one we want. And by choosing wisely, we can definitely hone in on that specific variable that they're asking for. So whenever you come across these system of equation type questions on your PSAT, I really recommend these 2 tips because that's going to make things a lot faster for you. Let's look at our next question. Now our next question is going to be this word problem here. Now there's a lot of text here, so we got to make sure we're taking out the valuable information and not missing anything important. So as we read this, let's jot down a few things to make sure we understand what they're talking about. So the question says, in a certain game, a player can solve easy or hard puzzles. So off bat, I'm thinking easy, hard puzzles. We have 2 variables. Hard puzzles is going to be one, and easy is going to be the next one. This leads me into my first tip for this question. Choose your variable names wisely. In our previous one, we had to choose the variable we're solving for wisely. This one is choosing the variable names wisely. Because they don't technically give you the variable names like they did in the previous one, our x's and y's, we have to pick something that makes sense. Don't pick something that you're going to have the potential to easily mess up. For example, if we were trying to just assign x and y, there might be some confusion later on, and you might forget which one you assigned to what. So if you just arbitrarily use x and y, at the end of your question, when you solve it all out, what is x? What is y? You have to remember that because it's not intuitive. It doesn't just jump out at you. So choose your variable names wisely. Also, don't choose something that's in common with both of them. So because these are both puzzles, I don't recommend you doing P1 or P2. What is P1 and P2? This doesn't stand out to you, so this is a terrible choice for variable names. Even if it does make sense in your head, it's easily something you can mess up. So for this one, I'm already thinking we have hard puzzles and easy puzzles. However, my variable is going to be something that stands out, H and E. At the end of my question, there's going to be no doubt in my mind that H is for the hard puzzles and E is for the easy puzzles. So our first tip, choose your variable names wisely. This is going to help save a lot of time because you don't want to get confused at the end and start having to backtrack through your math, which one was for what. So let's continue. A player earns 30 points for solving an easy puzzle and 60 points for solving a hard puzzle. So that tells us 30E points for easy because every easy puzzle we're going to get 30 points, and 60H is going to be our points for hard because every hard puzzle we're doing 60 points. Tina solved a total of 50 puzzles playing this game, earning 1,950 points in all. So that tells us how many hard puzzles did Tina solve. So that last part is telling us to find H. So this is all the information I'm getting from this word problem. So you don't necessarily have to write out all of this, but try to understand what the question is asking for as you're going through the question. If you can do that, that can save you some time as well, because you can start understanding before you get to your answers what you're trying to do. You have to figure out where you're trying to go before you try to get there. And you got to figure out what do you have to get there before you jump straight into solving these questions. So now let's solve our system of equations. Now that we know what we've been given, I'm going to use this in order to set up the system of equations properly. So that second tip, especially for word problems, is going to be identify useful info first. Once you have your useful info, then you can move on to solving your question, because sometimes you're not going to have to use everything that they give you in these word problems. So make sure you identify all the useful information first. So we know 50 is the number of puzzles we solved, and we solved both hard and easy puzzles. We chose our variable names wisely, so that's what these H and E stand for, hard and easy puzzles. And we know that we got 1950 for our total points. And for every hard puzzle, we got 60 points, so we got 60H. And for every easy puzzle, we got 30 points, so that's 30E. Now we move on to our third tip, and this is going to be choose your method that you're going to use to solve. We've already covered this one, and we know the answer. We're going to use elimination again. And our fourth tip is going to be something you already know as well. We just talked about this. Choosing your variable wisely. Which one are you going to eliminate? You have to choose that wisely because you don't want to pretty much waste time solving and eliminating the wrong one, because you still have to plug it back in to get the one you're looking for. So for this one, we're going to eliminate E because we need to find the hard puzzles, not the easy puzzles. So choose your variable wisely is still going to be applicable for this question. So what do we have to multiply by to get our least common multiple? Well, it seems like we have a 1 here and a 30 here, so we're going to eliminate this by multiplying the top by 30. However, it's going to be a positive or a negative 30. Both of these are positive right now. In order to eliminate this, these signs have to be opposite, so what are we going to multiply by in order to get an opposite sign? It's going to be a negative 30, so negative 30 times this whole top. And unlike our previous example, we don't have to multiply the bottom by anything. This equation, we can leave alone. So let's multiply this out and rewrite our equations. So what do we get when we combine these? Well, negative 15 plus a 1950 gives us a 450 left over. Negative 30h plus our 60h gives us a positive 30h, and we eliminate our e's. So now that we have 450 equals 30h, we can solve for our h, which in this case, by dividing 30 by both sides, we get 15. So H is going to be 15. Well, what does that mean for Tina? That means Tina solved 15 hard puzzles. And do we have 15 as one of our answers? Yes, B. So our answer for this question is going to be B. Tina solved 15 hard puzzles. Let's do one more quick example to show you another tip that didn't necessarily come into play for this one, but can come into play for something you may experience. So my last tip for you is going to be centered around the answers, because believe it or not, the answers can give us a hint as to how we can finish this question faster. So you see here we have 4 choices for this question. A gives us the XY pair of negative 112 and negative 264. B gives us 64 and 88. C gives us 232 over 3 and 224 over 3. And D gives us 288 and 536. One thing I want you to notice is these are all unique. This doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but if it is, that's great, because that means you only have to solve for one of your variables, because everything is going to be unique. If you get one of the variables, you already get the entire question. You don't have to find the X and the Y component, because if X and Y are both unique for all your answers, one X is only going to fit one of your questions. However, the tip I have for you is what to do when they're not unique. Let's say your Y's weren't all unique. Let's say one of them repeated. I would say for this question, stay away from the variables that are not unique. If Y is not unique, but X is unique, You want to eliminate your y's because you want to solve for your x's. Let me give you a quick example on this. Let's say we have our A and B option here, right? A is the same, so I'm going to say negative 112 and negative 264. However, B would be different. Let's say 64 and negative 264. So if these were our options here, I would say for the first tip, stay away from the one that is not unique. Y components here are not unique. So if you eliminated x and solved for y, and you happen to get negative 264, you still don't know which answer is correct because both of these fit that category. However, if you were to eliminate y's and solve for your x's, it doesn't matter what is in the y component. Once you have your x, because x is unique, you know you have your answer. So if your answer happened to be negative 112 for x, you don't even have to bother with this one, even though they both have the same y. So the tip I have for you is, if you have a variable that is not unique in your answers, and you have a variable that is unique, choose the variable that is unique to solve for. Eliminate the one that is not unique. So the one you want to eliminate is up to you for this question because everything is unique. My next tip for you is pretty unique to these type of questions. If you have fractions in both your top and bottom, I would say make them into whole numbers. Multiply in order to make them into whole numbers. Because dealing with fractions is going to be time consuming and you don't need to waste your time with that. So multiply what you need in order to get rid of your fractions. So what you have to multiply your top by in order to get rid of your fractions? You have a 1/2 and you have a 1/4. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 4 because that's going to get rid of all of our fractions in the top. How about the bottom? Well, we're going to multiply this whole thing by 8 because that's going to get rid of our fractions. So let's distribute this and rewrite our equations. So based on what it looks like in these system of equations, I want to eliminate our y's and solve for our x's because I just have to switch the sign for all of these, multiply the bottom by -1, and our y's fall out automatically. So by doing that, and we combine all these, we get x equals, because that goes away, negative 112. And because we already determined that our answers are unique, which one has x as negative 112? A. So we know that our answer, A, is going to be negative 112, 264, negative 264, and that's going to be our answer for this question. It's important to realize that although some of the tips that I gave you are not going to be applicable to all the questions you run into, there are some that will show up a lot more frequently depending on the type of question you get. So I hope you ever followed today's examples and found the tips helpful. If there was any questions you had about the tips or the questions that we covered, be sure to put them in the comment box below. I'd love to be able to help you as much as I possibly can. If you have a question about your own homework you'd like to see on this channel, remember you can visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping this helped with your PSAT prep, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.